Oh, hi there, everybody. I'm sorry for just using the standard timer for this little intro here. I would absolutely have loved to have used the trailer and the theme from the Magnificent Seven, but as I discovered from experimentation earlier on, it would have completely got the stream done for copyright infringement. So, this is why we can't have nice things in life. What can I say? But hey, we're at least here now, and we have got quite the treat this evening because we're going to be talking not just about Seven Samurai, but the Magnificent Seven and Battle Beyond the Stars, and that is quite the plethora of movies, all spawned by Seven Samurai. So that movie's got a lot to answer for, and we're going to get through it tonight on Happy Hour. It's been a little while since I've done one of these, but I'm happy to be back doing it. And I am joined this evening by a man who's an expert in these movies. He is also one of my mods, and he's the director of Mahler's short film. It is Lance Nielsen from the Outcast Creative. Good to have you on again, man. It's good to see you again.
What a fabulous intro. Thanks very much. And, for those people watching, don't forget, if you've got a creative project that you want to promote, if you're a writer, director, filmmaker, you're an author, you're doing your first music track, you might be writing your first book. As long as you've got something I can see, I'm quite happy to get you on my channel as a guest and plug you. We'll do an interview. We'll do all of that stuff. My channel is all about promoting fellow creatives. And I love the fact that we can be out there supporting other people. I love doing that for people. So get in touch with me, care of the Outcast Creative Facebook page, or you can find me on Twitter under Lance Nielsen WD. I've put the shout out before, and I've had guests on straight away from Open Bar. I had two authors contacted me. I had them both on within a month. So there you go.
Nice. Well, there you go. And on the subject of like people doing independent media and like creative enterprises, you have got something coming up of your own. In addition to making films and stuff, you're also doing a play based around the making of the Magnificent Seven, which I believe is not too long away, actually.
No, our opening night is. Hang on, what day of the week is it? It's Monday today, isn't it?
Monday, yeah.
Sorry, we've been rehearsing flat out. I don't quite know what day of the week it is. Our opening night is 2 weeks tomorrow. So we open on Wednesday the 15th. And just for 6 nights in London, at a lovely little pub theatre called the Old Rose and Crown, which is in Walthamstow. It's at the end of the Victoria line. All the dates and the information are on here. You might recognize that photograph because it's quite a famous picture, but the actors in the picture will look a little bit different. That's because that's my Seven cast. And this is all about most people won't know this story, but actually there were a lot of problems getting this film made, because when they decided to do it, originally it was a project between Anthony Quinn and Yul Brynner, and it was actually Anthony Quinn that brought the idea of adapting the Seven Samurai to Yul Brynner, because Yul Brynner was looking for a film to direct, not to star in. He wanted to direct. He'd just been directed by Anthony Quinn in another movie. And I think that's probably what got a bee in his bonnet about, I want to go into directing now. So, that scene is in the film. That scene is in our play. And then there became a whole massive battle over rights. There were all these court cases. And then there was an actors' strike and a writers' strike right before the filming began. And that's why they decided to shoot the film in Mexico. And also because Yul Brynner wouldn't have to pay any tax on his salary. And all of those scenes are all in the play. So
it'll be interesting to talk about it when we get to actually discussing.
And that's that gives you an inkling of just a few of the things that went on behind the scenes, trying to get the Magnificent Seven.
It was kind of its own like production hell in its own way. So
I mean, they had a lot of problems, including after the film came out. Initially, the company didn't really get properly behind it. They didn't release it in New York for several months. They started releasing it as part of a double bill, which is normally the kiss of death, back in those days. But the film just kept growing. It took a while to catch fire, but it kept growing. It was a massive hit in Europe. And then, so on its first release in the US, it did okay, but not brilliantly. But on its second release in the US, when it was re-released, because films were re-released quite frequently back then, it took a lot of money. And eventually it was a big hit for United Artists.
and now considered one of the most important westerns of all time, which is pretty damn neat.
Indeed.
But yeah, so the link to booking tickets for Lance's play is actually in the description. So if you are interested and you're in like the London area, then by all means take a look.
Oh, it's worth mentioning that on the last performance, which is Sunday the 19th, it's a performance in the afternoon at 2:00. There's a YouTubers meetup in the pub. So we've got quite a few YouTubers from the UK coming to that already. I'm not going to say who, but there'll be a couple of big names there. Obviously they're all coming to see the play. The play is on at 2, and then after we get out at 4:30, I'll be in the pub with all the cast. We're all going to hang out. We'll all be there for at least 3 hours. So yeah, do come. It'll be good fun. There's still tickets available for that performance. Friday night is already sold out. So there you go.
Yeah, get them while they're available then. Yeah.
Thank you for that massive plug. By the way,
right.
really appreciate that. Really
I want to see this one. I want to see it sell out, and yeah, hopefully it does really well. Critical Drinker, you rock, man. Cheers, John. Appreciate you, man. My check will be in the mail shortly for that. That'll be on the Star Side of Ship with tits. It did indeed, yeah. There's a lot of tits in that movie. We'll get into that shortly, though. I guess if we're going to talk about this, we might as well start where it all began, which was The Seven Samurai.
Yeah.
The Akira Kurosawa classic, 1954, I believe. This is it is an old one now at this point. Yeah, it was originally, as far as I know, his inspiration for it was he wanted to do a movie about a single day in the life of a samurai during that medieval period in Japan. And he eventually did he was doing his research for it, and he discovered the stories of samurai who could be recruited to fight and defend farmers from like roving bandits. And that's what inspired him to go for the Seven Samurai storyline instead. That was the genesis of it. Which is a neat beginning, I think. And as far as I know as well, they were originally going to have 6 samurai instead of 7.
Yeah, I mean, it's a funny story. It was originally going to be called The Sixth Samurai, which for some reason doesn't quite have the same ring to it, does it?
It doesn't, no. 7 just sounds cooler. But then I think they decided they wanted a drunk one for a bit of like flavor and a bit of like comedy elements and stuff. And that's when I think they recast one of the existing actors and said to him, like, we want you to play this much more like wacky out there character who's always drunk and always like on the edge of like a breakdown, and just ad lib it, go crazy, do what you want with it. And he just went for it 100%. And I just think that's so cool.
That's Toshiro Mifune, who was a regular collaborator of Akira Kurosawa's until unfortunately they fell out sometime later, and then they never worked together again. I haven't been able to find out exactly why. They had a big argument during the shooting of one movie, but the reason that they created the 7th character was because you kind of had these 6 sort of noble warriors. They all had slightly different traits, but they were quite similar in the sense that they were all sort of good, noble guys who were going to fight for the villagers for no money. There wasn't really a character that stood out that was radically different from the rest. And they said, we need a wild card in this. And that's why they created the crazy warrior, who Toshiro would go on to embody with an amazing performance. And it's considered to be an iconic and defining performance of his career in Japan. Mm-hmm. But I've been lucky enough to see this film on the big screen, not once, but 3 times. Because we've got the Prince Charles Cinema, and they show it at least once or twice a year. And I always try and catch it. Because I'm a filmmaker, one of the things I love about the Seven Samurai is there's so many shots in it and so many moments in it that you can see in other films. You can see shots from Star Wars in the Seven Samurai. You can see shots from all the big filmmakers, Paul Thomas Anderson, so many of them. Yeah. And not just Spielberg and Lucas, but a lot of other people like John Carpenter have taken shots from the Seven Samurai. It's such an iconic movie.
It's not
And
just the shots, I think, as well. It's a lot of the concepts and storytelling,
yeah,
which hadn't really been done in movies up until that point. Like the whole like I'm putting together a team idea that had never really been done in movies before, and this was the first time that it really popularized it. And obviously, it's been used a million times since then. But like this was the first movie that got in there and said, "No, wouldn't it be cool if you took a bunch of eclectic guys who don't know each other?" Throw them together, give them an objective to pursue, and they have to learn to work together as a team. All these clashing egos and personalities. This was the movie that really popularized it, which is just so fucking cool.
yeah. I mean, you can trace back so many movies to this one as the origin. Things like the Dirty Dozen, the classic World War II, 12 guys on a mission.
Yeah,
And a lot of those films owe a great debt to the Seven Samurai. And you're right, because people need to remember this came out in 1954. So when you think about the story tropes and the concepts and also the visuals, you've got the great battle in the rain. We hadn't really seen stuff like that before. I mean, it was a benchmark film in so many ways, and I appreciate it much more now than I did when I first caught it as a kid. Sort of on some afternoon, I caught about half of it as a kid, and I was a little bit bored,
yeah.
because it's as a kid, you don't
It's not
appreciate it.
exactly it's not exactly a quick movie, and it really takes its time setting up the characters and establishing like their relationship to each other and also their backstory and their motivation for doing it, and that takes a while. I think it clocks in at what, 3.5 hours, so
Yeah, it's
it's
just
a
over.
chunky boy.
I think it's about 3 hours 20 minutes. I think.
Yeah, it's a chunky boy of a movie, but it doesn't feel like wasted time, because all of that time is used to just build up your attachment to these people. And I think what's interesting about it, and what struck me when I did my rewatch of it, because honestly I hadn't watched it in about 20 years. It had been a long time. Rewatching it for this, I was struck by how much humor and like just humanity is in it. Like you've got this like stereotypical image, I guess, of like the Japanese, especially in that period where they're like super stoic and emotionless and just like very controlled. But there's a lot of like goofing around and funny, like just human moments with the characters, like when they're interacting with the children of the village, or like they're playing
Mm.
pranks on each other or laughing at one of them getting something wrong. There is a lot of humanity in that movie that just really helps you to get into like their group dynamic. I really like it.
It's kind of nuts to think that all the kids that played children in the village scenes would all be in their 70s now.
Yeah. That's
That's
scary.
kind of, and I do wonder if any of them are still around. And if you could get one of them on for an interview, if they spoke English, I don't know, but that would be an interesting
Who knows?
industry interview
Who
to do.
knows? Yeah.
Mm.
But I think as well, like from a cinematography point of view, um, I was struck by the use of slow motion as well, which is not something again that you saw a huge amount of at that time period, like the 1950s. But when you got some of the kills that took place, like just a sudden, swipe of the samurai sword doing a duel, and then the guy who's been vanquished will just drop like a stone. But it's like it's filmed in slow motion, which again, it's just not a technique that you saw a huge amount of up until that point. I can't recall any of 1950s movies using it, but this one did, which is again just another little movement towards like the more modern style of action.
Yeah, I mean, Akira Kurosawa, who, let's face it, the man was a genius. And I highly recommend to the chat, if you haven't seen his film Ran, RAN, which came out in the 80s, that's a visual feast. It's an incredible movie. And he had 148 shooting days to make this film, which was spread out over a year. And one of the interesting things, one of the interesting stories, and that for me as a filmmaker, that'd be a dream. Wow, 148 days to spread out over a year to shoot a feature film. Yes, please. Let me have that shooting schedule. I would love that. So he could take his time, which is why the film is so good. He took his time. But twice the studio came in. You're running too long. You're running over budget. We're going to shut you down. So they shut down production, and he basically just, instead of like a director today would get all stressed, probably have a mental breakdown. He just went off and went fishing,
That is the most
And
Japanese thing that a
yeah,
person can do. It's like the entire movie's been shut down, and this could be the end of your career. Well, I will go fishing and
because
meditate for a
he
while.
knew that they'd invested so much time and money into it. He knew
Yes.
that they were going to come back to him and just say, "Well, you've got to finish the movie," and that's what he did both times. They shut the production down, and then he came back and but he also was one of the first people to make use of telephoto lenses, which in 1954 they weren't really around much on sets. And I mean, you got to think of the technology of how different it was then, and look at still how good the film is now. That makes it so much more just incredible. The choreography of the fights, the horse wrangling in the film is amazing. You've got these horses with riders on riding into these groups of guys with 10 guys with big pikes, bamboo
Yeah.
pipe.
And this is the thing, like
Incredible stuff.
stuff like that. I think we take for granted almost. Like, oh, someone's just riding a horse and like leaping it over, a big obstacle or whatever, or going straight into like a bunch of extras with spears. It looks very, very simple on screen, right? But you don't. We almost don't appreciate the danger that it puts people in, because you're working with temperamental, unpredictable animals that move at high speed with a bunch of people who, are standing directly in its path. You don't know what's going to happen. Like, I imagine health and safety was a little bit less of a concern back then, but damn, people could still get
Yeah,
injured.
I'm not sure there would have been. I don't know if there would have been a health and safety officer. I mean, obviously they would be trying to put safeguards in, but there were a few accidents on the shoot.
Yeah,
There was quite a few broken arms and quite a few broken legs, and
I
a
can
few
imagine.
stuntmen. I don't think anybody died, but I mean, some people got
They were probably told to walk it off, though, I would imagine.
yeah, like a Jackie Chan movie.
Yeah, yeah, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. And it was a movie that, again, this was like a relatively rare thing at the time, especially in Japan, because resources were fairly tight for like studios there, having multiple cameras when they were shooting action sequences, so they didn't have to reshoot the same sequence over and over again. They would
Mm.
film it from multiple different angles to create a much more dynamic piece of action, and it meant that continuity was less of a problem because they were not redoing the same scene. They were just getting it from all these different angles. And again, it sounds obvious to us because we've got, studios today have got effectively unlimited resources. Back then it was a big deal to do it that way, but they did it, and the result is much more interesting action sequences than you could have got otherwise. You can definitely tell when it was like the second unit stuff, because like the camera's fucking all over the place, and it's definitely rougher. Like, probably they had
Yeah.
different quality of lenses and stuff versus the main, compared to like the secondary unit and stuff. But it's what they were working with. It's the technology of like 70 years ago, so I think they did okay.
Yeah, it's I mean, for anyone in chat who hasn't watched it, it's a good movie. Savage Indigestion just mentioned Hidden Fortress. I mean, yeah, that has got so many. It's another great Akira Kurosawa film. It's got so many nods to Star Wars, and I mean, George Lucas admitted he based so many of the plot elements for Star Wars on Hidden Fortress. I mean, that would be another one to do a stream on another time, maybe, But that's another great movie that I highly recommend as well.
Yeah, it gets into a lot as well, like, because not just about like the action sequences and all that stuff. That's like the obvious stuff, but like the movie tries to address a lot of these issues of like, well, where does this conflict come from, and like who are the people who ultimately suffer from it, and who's to blame for it all? Because I think it's really exemplified in the character of was it Kikuchio, so Mifune's character, who's
Yeah.
pretending to be a samurai. He's acting, like Billy Big Balls throughout the movie, and he's always like yelling at people and stuff. You find out, obviously, at a certain point, he's not. He's a farmer. And there's this big emotional breakdown scene for him where he acknowledges what he really is, and he rants at the rest of the samurai and basically says, farmers are untrustworthy, and they'll steal your clothes and murder you and stuff. They'll hunt down vanquished samurai because you made them like that. People like you made them into that. you with your constant wars and your code of honor and all your bullshit, you're the reason that it's ended up this way. And I just thought it was a great admission from a character like that, and it's really delving into the flaws in that feudal like Japanese system of warfare and government and honor and all of the stuff that underpinned everything in that society. It's a great sequence, and damn, he 100% goes for it as well. Like the emotion pouring out of that dude is intense.
Yeah, it's a good performance. My favorite character is in Seven Samurai, the one who's got almost no lines.
Is that the
He's like
really like
the expert swordsman, and you have that
yes,
scene where he gets challenged by the guy, and they're using wooden
yeah,
swords, and then that scene gets replicated in the Magnificent Seven with Jimmy Coburn's
yes,
character. You know, and there's a great interview with James Coburn, which is on the 2005 DVD Magnificent Seven release. They've got a great commentary track with Eli Wallach. I'm jumping films here, but Coburn, the reason I'm mentioning it now is Coburn mentions that was his favorite character in The Seven Samurai when he went to see it. And when he went for his casting, he said, which one of the samurai have you got me in mind for in the Western? And they said, well, we're thinking of you for the knife expert, guy who's expert with knives. And he went straight away, oh, that's my favorite character in the original
yeah.
one. Sign me up. I'm in, you know.
Well, there's a great scene with that guy later in the movie as well, where they're getting shot at. Like the bandits have got like 3 or 4 muskets
Rifles.
that they're firing at them with. Yeah,
Yeah.
and they send him out to get one. Like he just volunteers. He's like, I'll go get it," and like he just leaves. And then it's like an hour later, he comes back,
Yeah.
just holding the gun, and he's like, "I've got it." He just hands it over, and he's like, "I also killed 2 of them," and then he just goes and sits down and has a little rest. It doesn't make a big deal out of it at all.
And the leader gets his paintbrush out and marks 2
Yeah,
more off the kill list. I quite like that kill list thing that you keep seeing in the
yeah. Well,
movie.
like because the movie does take pains to establish the geography of the battlefield,
Very
who's
important.
responsible for what areas. Yeah, it is important. It's important to your understanding of their tactics, which is a great thing to see. And yeah, it gives a running tally of how many of the bandits that they've managed to kill. And it's wild because like they've killed at least half of them and they still attack. It's like, no, they would have given up by that point, but fuck it. Okay.
I think
Sure.
their leader kind of is threatening to kill. Remember, he kills one person who tries to. He kills a coward in front of the rest of his men and says that the
Yes.
same fate awaits any other man who tries to leave. So, I mean, they do cover that in the plot to defend it. I was just thinking about the comment you made about geography of the battle, and that is so important in any war movie or Spartacus or anything that's got high stakes battle and whatever. And if you want to see how to do it really incorrectly, watch The Last Big Battle in Rings of Power. In
Yeah.
fact, I think my comments inspired you to do a video about that, if I remember rightly. Did you do a
Something
video about that?
a lot of things inspire me, yeah, to talk about that. Like that was wild how badly
Bad.
staged that was. Where it's like once the audience has no sense of where everything is and like how the battle's progressing, you're wasting your time. You can have
Or
the most
logic.
impressive, yeah, you can have the most impressive visuals imaginable, and it doesn't matter because no one's going to have any investment in it because they don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
That's but with this, you do, because the movie takes its time to set up all this stuff. You understand the geography of the battlefield, you understand the disposition of forces, and what their tactics are and how they're progressing through the battle. And it's a great way of just understanding who's winning and losing at any given time.
Yeah.
Great to see.
Yeah, great film. Highly recommend it. I mean, it's like I say, if you can see it on the big screen, don't be put off by the running time, because when you're watching it in a cinema, it you know, it
Do you
passes really quick.
do you get an intermission in the cinema? Because
Yeah,
the version I
yeah,
watched, there was an intermission. Like
yeah.
it's like I'm
Thank
just
God,
renting it
'cause,
off
like,
Amazon.
I was like lightning speed to the gents at that stage. Yeah, it's a long movie.
Yeah.
And you know, but yeah, it's well worth seeing. Yeah, I mean, and you know, when you watch it, if you haven't seen it before, and I know a lot of people haven't, you'll realize how many modern movies owe so much to it, and also just to Akira Kurosawa as a filmmaker. And it may well encourage you to watch some more of his work. I think one of his last films was Dreams. Somebody mentioned it in the chat earlier. That is a good film, but I think some of his earlier stuff is a lot stronger.
Yeah.
Drunken Master's another good one.
Oh, I'm signing me up for that already. But it's one of those things where you can look at movies like this as the genesis for so many ideas that were done probably like in a more refined, slicker, more technically accomplished way later. But the idea had to come from somewhere, and in cases like this, it came from movies like Seven Samurai, which is just it's such a fascinating way to explore like the underpinnings of so much we see in cinema now. But yeah, just great film. Yeah, definitely. If you're watching at home, bring some snacks.
Somebody just mentioned Rebel Moon, which again,
sure,
heavily influenced by Seven Samurai, even though it was originally supposed to be a Star Wars script, and
which was itself influenced by Seven Samurai. So yeah, man, it just went full circle.
But we're going to talk about the proper version of Rebel Moon shortly, because we're going to come on to Battle Beyond the Stars later, which is the proper version of Rebel Moon,
which is the only version we need. But before we move on, allow me to just answer a few super chats here. That came in. So
I saw a good one.
RRTNZ, great to see you doing happy hours again. Great to be doing it, man. Especially for such epic films, and with Lance, who's a true fan of westerns. Happy streaming, you cowpokes. This is the problem, though, because we're doing 3 of them. We can't really go into the kind of crazy detail we normally do with happy hour. We're kind of skimming the surface of these movies, but it's just the nature of it, unfortunately. Casey Boyd, Drinker Steele in Mahler's birthday stream. Do you secretly hate him? I don't secretly hate him. I openly hate him. Asshole, he's Welsh. I mean, I know he's Welsh, but still.
Well, I like him because he just gave me a job, so I love the Mauler.
Yeah, no. With all due respect to the Mauler, I've wished him happy birthday, and I hope he's having lots of fun right now. But yeah, this was just a night that, well, for you and I, this was the only night we could really do, because I've got a stream tomorrow night, and then I think I've got something else on Wednesday. And then I've got open bar on Thursday. So yeah, this was the only night we could do it, sadly.
Literally for both of us, because my Magnificent Seven play opens very soon, like 9 days time, and I'm rehearsing every day except for one, I think.
Yeah. Jonathan Lampkin says, Drinker, I clipped you saying you'd be my friend. You'll always be my friend, Jonathan. You can clip that. Me and you, bros for life. Eurodoc says, Drinker, you're a Western fan, but I've never heard you discuss the films of Sam Peckinpah. The Wild Bunch seems like it'd be right up your alley. I know, it's just,
have you not seen The Wild Bunch yet?
No, I have. It's just the opportunity hasn't presented itself to discuss things like this.
If you ever do a Sam Peckinpah stream, count me in. Massive influence on me as a director as well. I've done things of his in a couple of my movies. And I got to see the restored version of The Wild Bunch at the Warner West End, Leicester Square, when it was re-released, I think about 2002, 2003. And that was the first time I'd seen the movie in its entirety. I'd always caught bits of it on TV. I'd caught the big dramatic half-hour ending, and I'd never seen it all the way through. Such a good film. Oh my God, such a good film.
And Gio and Ware says, Lance and the Drinker, let's freaking go. We are going, sir. So there you go.
Like that. Thank you, man. Appreciate that.
Let us discuss the Magnificent Seven.
All right.
Are you ready for it?
I've got a lot of stories about this one, because obviously I've had to research it.
So let's give people some context for this. So this was originally conceived as a project between Yul Brynner and Anthony Quinn, as I understand it. And they were going to do a remake of the Seven Samurai. They were both fans of it. And Yul Brynner saw it as a good opportunity because he wanted to direct, I believe.
Yeah, he wanted to. He was in a film that Anthony Quinn actually directed. I think it might have been, I need to check, but it might have been The Crimson Pirate. It was some kind of pirate swashbuckler film. And Brynner was in that, doing his kind of bald pirate thing. And Anthony Quinn directed it. And I think that was what planted the seed that the next stage of his career should be as a director, and it would have been really interesting to see what kind of director Yul Brynner would have become, because I mean, he clearly understood film and filmmaking and had been around it for a very long time. But Quinn brought the idea to him, and Quinn, of course, had just got 2 Oscars, and Brynner had got an Oscar for the King and I. In fact, we have a scene in the play that covers this, which is quite funny, and Brynner keeps trying to nick Anthony Quinn's other Oscar off the table in the play. But yeah, so the whole thing was Quinn was supposed to star as the Toshiro Mifune character, the kind of the crazy samurai. He was going to play the crazy cowboy and be the sort of lead. And
I
Brynner
cannot picture Quinn doing a role like that. I don't know why. I can't imagine him doing it.
I can see him. Whether it would have been good or not, I mean, I can certainly picture him giving it a go. I'm glad that that's not the version of the film that we got.
Yeah.
This is the film that introduced us to Brynner in all black, a costume which he had replicated many times by the costume designer, so he could wear it at home. By the way, little story for people.
Oh, right.
Yeah, he loved it. He loved
Is that for the wife?
Well, I mean, you know, but I could talk about his 4 wives as well. We cover that in the play. He married a 24-year-old ballerina in the last 2 years of his life. So,
oh, you dirty dog, you.
I mean, you know, what's the guy to do? So, yeah, so that's how the project started. It's important to mention Walter Mirisch here as well, of the Mirisch brothers. Now, Walter Mirisch, if you look him up as a producer, this guy was an incredible producer. And I mean, not only did he do The Magnificent Seven, he went on to do the Great Escape. And in fact, when you think about The Magnificent Seven, most people think Robert Vaughn was the last one to go. And of the 7, he was. Rosenda Monteros, who played the female lead in the film, she was the last of the main cast to die. But Walter Mirisch lived until 2023. He was still going a couple of years ago. I think he lived to about 102. But if you look up his career list on IMDb, it's quite incredible. He's produced some amazing movies, including In the Heat of the Night, you know, Mr. Majestic with Charles Bronson. He was an executive producer on the Pink Panther. You know, he did one of the original Dracula films. He did Prisoner of Zenda. So this is a very prolific producer. He did the Battle of Midway, which I know a lot of people really like that film from the 70s. He did the Thomas Crown Affair.
Tora more than the Battle of Midway, but
yeah, Tora is way better. But I mean, this is a very prolific producer who did a number of big hits, including a huge number of westerns, you know, as well as some other films. He just come off Cast Along Shadow before, which is about the Israeli Arab War, bit of a contemporary topic.
Yeah, funny how these things just keep on going.
Right, indeed. But yeah, so definitely check out the films of Walter Mirisch. Really interesting man as well. And again, he did a great commentary track for the film, which is where I got a lot of the information from my play, you know, about all the stuff that went on behind the scenes, the various arguments and shenanigans and problems that they had.
I think I was going to say my favorite story about it is Steve. They wanted Steve McQueen in it from a very early stage, right?
That's right.
He was committed to a TV show and he couldn't get out of it.
Wanted, Dead or Alive.
Yes, yeah. And so what he did, because he was a pretty badass racing driver, he staged the fucking car accident that he was in, claimed that he had whiplash, and so he couldn't do the TV show, so he could get released from it, and then he went up and did the fucking movie.
Yeah, that
amazing.
That story is completely.
And he got away with it.
It is. It's completely true. He got a doctor to sign him off the TV show. I think he paid him a bit of a bribe.
Yep.
And the film was shooting in Mexico, and the reason that they shot in Mexico was twofold. One was because there was an actors' strike coming up, so if they could get all the actors signed by January 12th and get the production into Mexico to start by March 14th of 1960, they could avoid both the writers' strike and the actors' strike. This is in 1960. All these strikes and stuff were all going on even then.
Oh yeah, regular.
And then the other reason was that Yul Brynner didn't have to pay any tax on his salary. So that was very, very appealing for him. So it's a nice big payday for everyone involved, and so that was why they went to Mexico. They shot it just outside of a town called Cuernavaca, which is just south of Mexico City.
Yeah. But what's impressive about it? Like, this really does mirror the plot of Seven Samurai, like, to the letter. You know, it's like, okay, let's just transpose all of the concepts behind it. We'll take it, instead of like a poor village in Japan, it's now a poor village in Mexico. It's under attack by bandits who are constantly raiding it. They go into town, they recruit some gunslingers instead of samurai who are going to, because ultimately that's what gunslingers were in the Wild West. It was the American version of samurai without masters. And it works, man, in such a beautiful way. Like, you've got this movie that's just captures the essence of Seven Samurai, but just transports the whole lot into the Wild West with all of the adventure and all of the romanticism around Wild West gunslinging and outlaws and bounty hunters and all that stuff. And it just works great. It's also about, I don't know, 90 minutes shorter than Seven Samurai,
Yeah.
which definitely helps. But it doesn't feel like it loses anything, which again is interesting. It's like, wow, that's efficiency right there.
The original script was actually much, much longer. And then when John Sturges came on board, John Sturges didn't want to direct this film. He'd done several Westerns. He felt he was done with Westerns, and he already had the script for Great Escape. And Walter Mirisch tried to tempt him with, "Oh, I'll give you 663 Squadron or 633 Squadron to direct." And he was like, no, I don't want to direct that film. I want to do my war film, you know. And I said, okay, well, look, you do this picture for us, and then we'll finance your escape movie. He just used to call it his Prisoner of War escape movie. It didn't have a title.
Yeah.
At that time. So that's why Sturges agreed to come on. And it was Sturges that suggested Steve McQueen, because he'd worked with him before. He suggested Charles Bronson. He suggested Coburn, and he also suggested Robert Vaughn, who'd just been nominated for an Oscar for Best Supporting Actor in The Young Philadelphians, where he starred opposite Paul Newman. So there was kind of a bit of, light on him at the time. And it's a really interesting combination of actors, and some of those names won't mean anything to people under the age of 25, but to anyone over the age of 40, you know, these are all iconic stars that you grew up with on a regular basis in films like Towering Inferno, which of course 3 of them were in that.
It's funny because the one that always sticks out for me amongst the Magnificent Seven, right? Like, Yul Brynner, obviously super well known. Steve McQueen, totally iconic. Charles Bronson, same deal. Robert Vaughn, yep. James Coburn, yep. Know all of them from so many different things. Brad Dexter was the one that just, I don't know, man. For some reason, he just stood out as like, I don't fucking know you from anything.
So, right. So in my play, I'm playing Brad Dexter.
Shit, I'm sorry.
And when I come on stage, my opening speech is like, you know, I've done more films than the rest of these guys put together, kind of thing. He's very blasé, because he's worked in the industry the longest. He's the oldest member of the cast. He knows everything. He knows all the players. And then there's this running gag with him. The people never remember him, and that happens all the way through the play. And he's also trying to always get more lines, so that his part is bigger. And this is true. This is a true story. He was kind of aware that his career was on the wane, and he realized he had the shirts part to know, I'm in a movie with some pretty hot actors right now. These are guys these guys are on the rise. So this movie is going to get seen by a lot of people. So he kind of knew it was his swan song, and he moved into producing after this. Right. So he kept trying to get more lines. He kept trying to get his part bigger, and John Sturges kept avoiding him. So and I also played John Sturges in the play, so we can never be on stage at the same time.
Yeah.
So I'll come on as Dexter. Anyone seen John? And then I'll kind of run off, and then I come back on as Sturges with a different costume on. I'm trying to avoid Brad. He's trying to get more lines, and that's a running gag. But it's true. That actually happened. Brad Dexter saved Frank Sinatra's life from drowning when he was he got caught on an undertow, and he was getting dragged out into sea. And I think Frank Sinatra did a lot to keep sort of Brad Dexter's career afloat and make sure he got some jobs and things. Don't underestimate the influence of the Sinatra in the film industry at this time.
Oh yeah. I mean, he would have been
reach was
massive
pretty big.
then. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just weird because like his character's whole arc is basically, I'm convinced there's fucking treasure up in the mountains and I want to find it. And then
Harry Luck is his character name, and he just thinks that you know, there's some secret agenda that Yule can't be doing this, or Chris is Yule's character name. He can't be doing this for no money, because that's the same thing as in the Seven Samurai. They all basically are working for almost no pay, just 3 meals a day. And then they don't even end up getting that in the end, because they realize the villagers are not eating anything, and they end up giving their food back to the villagers, which is quite a nice scene.
Yes. It is.
I like that moment.
Yeah, absolutely. I have to say, shout out to Charles Bronson in this as well. Like he is
Good.
quite the presence in this movie. I know obviously guys like McQueen and stuff would have been bigger stars than him at the time, and Yul Brynner for sure. But yeah, Bronson is just absolutely got it, man. Like when you first get introduced to him and he's like, I think he's chopping lumber or something out in the back. You know, like he's a big like physical powerhouse, and he's just got this kind of like I don't know the kind of quiet confidence of a guy who knows he could beat the shit out of you anytime he chooses. I don't know, they just don't make guys like him anymore.
I've got to give a shout out to actor Tom Patrick Coley, who's playing him in our play, because he went away and he kind of studied Bronson. He watched loads of his films, and he came back in and he just did the voice and he nailed it.
Yeah.
And like, so every time we hear him talking, it is like Bronson. And then Bronson's character in the movie, he bonds with these 3 kids.
Yes.
But these 3 kids who Bronson's quite a quiet guy, and in real life, he was great if you had dinner 1-to-1. Like him and John Sturges would go for dinner all the time. But if you added more people to that dinner table, Bronson would just shut up and he wouldn't talk. So he didn't like crowds. This is well known. So I thought that's interesting. Let's play on that. The 3 kids on the set, they follow him everywhere. They idolize him basically, and they want him to take them back to Hollywood with him, and they won't leave him alone. And we have that in the show. And of course, Bronson can't handle that. So even though he's this big tough guy on the screen, in the play, when he's with these 3 kids terrify him, and he's constantly trying to get away from them.
Right.
Which is again, you know, the actors do a great job with that. But I know quite a few people that worked with Bronson later in life, and I wish I knew people who worked with him when he was younger, because I think after his wife Jill Ireland passed away relatively young from cancer, I think she was in her early 50s perhaps, you know, I think he became very, very kind of withdrawn and really just wanted to turn up on set, take the money and go home.
What I heard was he always had a bit of a chip on his shoulder when people were working with him, because he didn't find fame really until quite late in life. Like I think it was like late 40s, early 50s before his career really took off. And I think he'd felt like he'd been struggling for too long, and maybe he'd had to like kiss too many asses to get to where he was, and he always just was a little bit pissed off as a result.
Well, he was 39 when he shot the Magnificent Seven. He was 39.
Right. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. So he was.
I scaled it up too much, but yeah, you get my point. It's like
No, I mean,
kind of struggling for quite a long time to make it in Hollywood.
This was only his second movie. His first movie was with Roger Corman. And the other thing you've got to remember about Charles Bronson as well is later in life, because, you know, he got typecast in Death Wish and all of that. He turned down the role of Curly in City Slickers. He got a straight offer for that role.
Shit.
He read the script. He saw that the character died on page 40, and he went, Bronson doesn't die on page 40. And he, you know, he had a go at his agent for even putting it. And of course, Jack Palance went and took the role, and then he won the Oscar for best.
Yeah. I mean, he was a great actor in his own right. You know?
He was indeed. So, you know, I mean, swings and roundabouts. He's still one of the most iconic tough guy actors of all time. And of course, he went on to be in The Great Escape, which was also directed by John Sturges, also starred Steve McQueen and James Coburn right after this.
Yeah, James Coburn's an interesting one, right? Because he doesn't look like a badass. He's like kind of stringy and gangly and tall, but like the way they introduce him in this movie is superb. He's just like this really nonchalant knife expert. You know, a guy challenges him to a duel, like gun versus knife, basically, and he still wins. And he just, even then, he doesn't give a shit. Like, that is a pretty badass way to introduce a character, man.
That he does this thing where he has his hat slid down like that, and then he pushes his hat up. And when James Coburn went for his audition, he just Sturges basically just said to him, "I've got this way that I see your character being introduced," and he put a hat on his head and talked him through the scene, and Coburn did it for him, and he said like this, and yeah, and then he asked him if he thought he could become an expert with knives, and James Coburn hadn't handled a knife before, but he went and picked up some knives from the prop store that day and became an expert. Like, he used it like every week. He apparently narrowly missed either his wife or his partner, whoever he was married to at the time. He was practicing at home, and he narrowly missed her when she came into the kitchen, and he was throwing them at this wall. It's like, you know. So that could have been a bad story gone wrong if
Yeah.
his aim was off.
Yeah, I should say as well, Robert Vaughn. Like, I always really liked him as an actor.
Love Robert Vaughn,
and we'll talk about him again, obviously, in Battle Beyond the Stars, because he comes back in a different role in that one. But
essentially the same character and almost with the same costume. Kind of got the he's got the gloves and
yeah, he's the well dressed. What would you even call him? Like, he's a sort of ex veteran or something who's gun shy now.
Yeah, I mean, his character in the movie, and I think he had more scenes, but they got cut. He's haunted by all the people he's killed. He's killed more people than everybody else.
Yes.
And yeah, I mean, loved Robert Vaughn. By the way, there's a great episode of The Dating Game with Robert Vaughn that's on YouTube. Look up Robert Vaughn, The Dating Game, and it is a really funny episode because he went on as a surprise guest. It's like Cilla Black's Blind Date for anyone from the UK who's watching, but that's a fun watch. But interesting to note that he appears to have a bullet hole in his hat as well.
Yeah, right enough. Yeah.
Was that supposed to be a bit of near miss? I'm not sure, but yeah, he's like this. He's this veteran gunslinger. He's supposed to be educated, very well spoken, but now he's kind of got these nightmares. His hands shake. He's not sure he can bring himself to kill anyone else.
Yeah.
And you don't see him shoot anyone in the Magnificent Seven until right near the end.
Yeah, then he really goes for it because he like bursts into that room, doesn't he, and kills like 3 people.
Yeah. In the first attack, he doesn't kill anybody.
Yeah, he's kind of like it's almost like he's making excuses. Yeah, he's just kind of hanging in the background while the other guys do the fighting.
But I loved him as an actor. I mean, he had that thing that same thing as Steve McQueen. He had that old school Hollywood super cool just energy, and like you watch him in Towering Inferno, he steals every single scene he's in, just effortlessly. And even like stuff like, I remember he did a little role in Delta Force with Chuck Norris, didn't he? Wasn't he like
Robert Vaughn?
Yeah, really? Wasn't he some kind of? He did all his scenes on a screen. Cannon probably gave him $100,000 or something to come in for a couple of days, and he did all his scenes on a screen, and he was kind of overseeing an operation or something. I'm sure he had a little role.
The last thing I saw him in was like some British TV show about con men or something. Yeah, con artists.
The Con or something like that.
Yeah, and like he still looked pretty good back then.
I saw him in a production
probably like 15 years ago.
Yeah, I saw him in a production of 12 Angry Men on stage, and we went to see him, and he was ill that night. So his understudy did the role because he played the old man who can't see properly, and in 12 Angry Men, and but then the following day he was walking to the Ivy with his bouncer. His bouncer was huge, and I had just written this play when I saw him, and I so wanted to go up to him and talk to him about it, but he looked so frail. I thought, oh no, I can't. I can't, because I really wanted him to come, because we were supposed to stage it when he was still alive, and I knew he was based in the UK, and that was the big thing. We were going to invite him along, and then as often happens, you can't get the money for these things or whatever. So when he passed away, I was absolutely gutted, because he was the only one of the 7 left alive at the time. But what an actor.
2016 he passed away, so he was 83. So pretty good innings, I guess.
Yeah, I was writing the play at the time that I saw him, and we did the first read through of it in 2017, which was after he'd gone.
But because I think what we hadn't really discussed as well is Eli Wallach plays the villain in this.
Yeah,
and he goes for it here. Like, I think, when people talk about your favorite roles with him, a lot of people would probably point to like The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. But man, he's pretty good in this as the leader of the bandits, because he kind of has a justifiable reason, or not, maybe not justifiable, but there is motivation for him doing what he's doing. Like, he has to feed his own men, and if he doesn't, then they're going to mutiny against him, and like, he's barely clinging on to power, really.
Yeah, there's one plot of the Magnificent Seven which has always irked me, and probably bothers some of the people in the chat, and that is that, and we comment on it in the play. John Sturgis says, I'm not sure about Calvera letting them go in the third act like that, but you can do the rewrites on location in Mexico, because they went through 3 different screenwriters for this play, which is a whole other story for this screenplay. But yeah, he didn't really, his interpretation was, my character's not a bad guy, he's just doing, it's a job for him, and he doesn't like to kill people. So if you think of him as a bad guy who's not a sadist, not a narcissist, and doesn't particularly enjoy violence, that kind of justifies him letting the 7 go after he captures them. But that is the weakest element of the film. You have to kind of,
I think so.
And Wallach's interpretation of his character.
I 100% agree. And I was going to ask you about your thoughts on like the fact that they kind of surrender and like allow themselves to be led off the battlefield without the weapons. Like because from their point of view, he could quite easily have killed them all.
Oh, he could have killed them all straight away. So you could, on the one hand, you can kind of argue that that's a weak part of the plot that doesn't really, bear fruit in terms of the reality of that kind of world and that kind of time and the sort of stuff that went on. Or you could argue, on the other hand, it's more strong, nuanced writing, because we're saying, actually, this guy is not your typical bad guy. It's not as black and white as one guy's a villain and one guy's a hero. These guys are gunmen and mercenaries. He kind of respects them, so and he lets them go because he respects them. But the reason that it always bothered me was, if they hadn't killed loads of his men already, I would go with it. But because they have killed loads of his men, they kill about half of his men in the first gunfight. You can count them, you
have a score to settle.
Yeah, and it wouldn't just be him that would have the score to settle. It would be several of his men would also have lost their best mate or whatever. So that bit still kind of irks me a little bit. But yeah, I still love the film because there's so much about it that's really good. I think that's the one weak spot, maybe. It kind of works because Eli sells the character. It was all his idea to have the gold tooth. It was his idea to have the red shirt. If you look at his saddle in the show and his horse, you'll see that he's got the finest horse of all of his men.
Yes,
he's got the finest saddle, and he didn't hang out with the Magnificent Seven actors. His 40 horsemen, who were all these local guys, who all turned up with their own costumes. They turned up with their own guns. They all took him horse riding every day, and they all went horse riding every day for like an hour and a half. There's a really great stunt that Wallach does in the film where he's jumping over walls, and that's Wallach. That's not a stunt man. And he's got one of his best riders either side of him, if you watch. So they're there to make sure the horse does everything, and
he doesn't fall off.
It's good stuff, It's good stuff.
No, it really is, and no, I think it's generally, I would look at the Magnificent Seven and say it's kind of a more refined, technically more slick version of Seven Samurai. It's a much more efficient screenplay. It saves about an hour at least of runtime to get to the same conclusion. And, you know, like when it comes to the staging of the action sequences and stuff, it's just, it benefits from having like probably 10 years or no, sorry, 6 or 7 years, I think, of extra film technology and, you know, better resources, that sort of thing. So it generally looks better, I think. But in terms of the script writing and stuff, that is like just the flaw that I would pick out of like, oh, that just feels a little bit unintuitive that they would give up like that and allow themselves to be disarmed and taken away only to come back later and just, you know, wreak vengeance.
So
I wouldn't have done that.
I think I know why that happened, because Walter Newman was the second writer. He was the writer that John Sturges brought on, right? And Walter Newman was the one who cut the script down. He got the 7 together really quickly, got them all together in the first 30 minutes of the movie, came up with this really great opening of Calvera coming to the village at the beginning and giving Calvera dialogue and establishing who he is and all of this kind of stuff. And they really liked everything Walter did. And they said, great, you know, now look, the Mexican censors, and we need to talk about him, the Mexican censor is going to want some rewrites. You're going to want some rewrites. You've got to come with us to Mexico. And Walter Newman, who's played by a fantastic actor called Simon Berry in our play, who also plays Steve McQueen, he's like, I can't come, Mr. Sturges. I just got married. My wife, you know, I got this radio play to do. And you know, Sturges is like, radio? Who gives a shit about radio, kid? This is 1960. We're going to Mexico, son, senoritas and margaritas. But he doesn't want to go. And he had just got married and he basically bailed on them. And they had to get yet another writer, which is why there was all these conflicts over who got what writing credit and everything. Was another guy called William Roberts, I think, was the one that came to Mexico with them. But by the time they got to Mexico, the Mexican censors demanded so many changes, which we can talk about next if you want, that William Roberts was playing catch up with all these changes that the Mexican censors wanted. He didn't really have time to readjust the main narrative. And I think that's why that ended up just staying in the script. They just didn't have time to change it because they had to change so many other things. And I could tell you what those are. You know, like the Mexican festival scene, you know, the celebration scene where they all come out in the costumes. That was never in the script originally. That the Mexican censor insisted on that.
Just get
being
Mexican
in there.
Culture in there.
That's right. Yeah, there was like nothing of our culture in this film, you know. And if you watch the fight at the end, you'll see that there are separate shots of the women taking part in the battle, but none of the lead actors, none of the 7 principal actors are in those shots. You know why? Because those shots got added later because the Mexican censor, we want the women to join the fight. We must show that the women of the village are brave as well. So those got
progressive. Hey, they had girl bosses back in 1960.
I'm telling you, it happened. You know, like all the villagers joining in the fight at the end really soon. That didn't happen in the original script. It was like the censor was like, we've seen the first cut of the movie, make them join the fight faster. So they recut it again. John Sturges had to refilm a whole load of stuff. You know, he took out a second mortgage on his home to complete the film, and he lost his home. He didn't make a single penny on the movie. He lost all his money, which is why Mirisch made it up to him with The Great Escape and this kind of thing.
I like this one. McQueen shaking the shotgun shells to steal the scene from Yo when riding the wagon up to the cemetery. Yeah, that's a great way to introduce his character as well.
We mentioned that in the play. Gives your character nice definition, Steve. Good job. Yeah, and Yul Brynner is. If you look at it, the other thing that McQueen is doing, we should talk about McQueen, of course, is he's always moving. He's doing stuff with his hat in all of the scenes. He's always, you know, he's got his cowboy hat, and he's kind of always doing this. He's doing this kind of thing, you know. He's doing this kind of thing in shots. And at one point, Brynner turned around to him in front of Robert Vaughn. This is in one of Robert Vaughn's autobiographies, and said, "If you keep shaking your hand like that, you're either going to end up with a broken hand, or I'm going to take my hat off, and then no one's going to look at anybody else but me." And if you watch the film, Yul Brynner does not take his hat off in the entire movie.
He does. He does in one scene.
Does he? Yes. Is that inside the hat?
No, it's when they're working outside to dig defenses.
Oh,
Like they're
digging
a
digging
trench.
the
Yeah, so he
walls
doesn't.
and the
You don't see him
trenches.
take. Yeah, you don't see him take the hat off. It's already off. But like the chrome dome is on full display.
It's okay because Sturgis actually had it in his contract. This is not a joke because Sturgis didn't want him. And Sturgis didn't really like him, and he said that if it's a deal breaker, I want it in his contract that he's got to keep his cowboy hat on
Right.
in all the principal scenes, because if he takes it off, people like every you're always drawn to him when he's on because he's so striking. That you ignore the other actors in the scene, and he didn't want the audience to do that, so he got it in his contract that he had to keep his cowboy hat on. So that's why that's the only time then when I don't even remember that bit, and I've watched it 100 times. So
Well, there you go. I saw
yeah,
his tiny
drinker.
head.
What would
Spotted
I
it,
do
Brent.
without you?
I know, but Brinner's an interesting one because when I think about like, the charisma that's on display in this movie, he's not necessarily my top pick, if you catch my drift. Like, I don't necessarily see him as the leading man of a big ensemble cast like this. Like, my pick probably would have been McQueen to lead the ensemble. I know he was quite young in this, so maybe that would have counted against him, but like, he is... I don't know. He feels like more of a movie star than Yul Brynner did.
I mean, he had confidence. He just had that. He had, there's a certain something that some people either have it or they don't, and there are
Yeah.
different types of charisma. Bob Hoskins had it, but he had a very different type of charisma to, say, Steve McQueen. But Steve McQueen had it all. He had the talent, he had the sex appeal, he understood the craft, he knew where to stand, he knew how to work the camera, he knew what to do with his face. I mean, he knew it all. So he was just naturally gifted. And yeah, that's absolutely true. And I mean, it is true that him and Brynner didn't get on particularly well. Brynner was very, very much the movie star. He had a massive trailer. He had this big hammock arranged outside his trailer. He actually had a live parrot put in the tree
Just to be a
next. This is not
fucking
a joke.
lunatic.
This is a true story. He had a live parrot put in this tree next to his the bed thing that was attached between the two trees, the hammock. And then the Mexican extras and all that, they took the piss out of him. When he came back the next day, the two trees had been sawn down and someone put a stuffed parrot on one of the stumps.
Just to be a dick.
I mean, basically, yeah. So, he was a bit lofty, and I think James Coburn wasn't allowed to speak to him when he was preparing for his scenes. He was a bit high and mighty. But big stars could be like that back then. They can be like that now.
They can, yeah. I don't know. Just somehow feel like they were a bit cooler and more badass back then.
Yeah. I mean, Steve McQueen, you'd be hard pushed to find an actor who epitomizes the cool of Steve McQueen. And
yeah, being
and
a
that's a
fucking race
hard
car
role to
driver
play.
just for fun is like that. That just adds to his mystique,
I mean,
McQueen
that's
was
really
awesome.
why our play happened now, because an actor, Simon Berry, who came to one of my birthday parties with another friend, that's how we met. And we were in the garden talking. It was in the summer. And he said, "Oh, I heard you've written a play about the Magnificent Seven, but you haven't done it yet." And I was like, "Yeah." And he said, "I've always wanted to play Steve McQueen." And I said, "Well, if you come and co-produce the play with me, we'll do it." And that was how it started. And hence we're now on. And Simon's really thrown himself into the role. It's as have all the cast, I have to say. But yeah, he's watched every movie of his and studied all his mannerisms and done all that kind of thing.
Let me just answer a couple of super chats as we've been going here as well. The Proctophile says, "Good afternoon, guys. Drinker, buy Lance a glass of wine for me. I've bought him many glasses of wine."
He did already. It's there's only a drop left, but he has it.
He's more than earned it with all the hard work that he's been doing lately.
Oh, bless you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, man, I saw you work your ass off on All in Good Time as well. So yeah,
well,
Lance has been a busy boy this summer.
Yeah, and I just had another book come out, Back to Raving at 50. Check that out. That's very different for me. But yeah, I loved working on all in good time. What can I say? I can't thank you guys enough.
Well, it'll be out soon. It's going to come out on Kickstarter in what, a couple of weeks. I think it's the 25th it comes out.
Yeah, and we've got a behind. If there are any of the Kickstarter people watching, we've got a special behind the scenes kind of making of. I think it's about 25 minutes. You'll get to see that as well.
Just for you, because we love you, baby.
That's coming out about 5 days before the film, actually. We're trying to keep it non-spoilery for you. I'll tell you what was really nice. I know we're going slightly down a rabbit hole here, but I'll tell you what was really nice.
Hey, that's what we do on these streams, man.
It was so great. I've always been used to working with such low budgets, and you've never quite got enough money. You've never quite got enough time, and you can't get everything you want, and this sort of thing. This was the one time where I did have enough time. Everybody was paid, you know, I mean, at the very least, they were paid the minimum rates for whatever role, daily rate they should have. But people were paid accordingly, and the talent, you know, got a nice payday out of it. We had a fantastic crew. We finished half a day early and under budget, and I just was like, oh my god, because I hadn't directed a film for quite a while. I think the last thing I did was the second unit for Simon Cox's science fiction film, directing action scenes for Planet Invasion Earth, which was a ton of fun, by the way. I love directing action, and to do this and just really have time to work with the actors properly, and we planned it all out. It's all about the planning, you know, is 90% filmmaking. It was great, and we had almost no hiccups on the day, very minor. I was very, very pleased, and you could just tell the atmosphere on the set was fantastic. Nobody had a bad word with anybody. No one kind of got short with anyone. Really professional crew. I mean, I brought all my guys from all my various different projects I'd worked with over the years. I said, I've got a really special job on. I want you on this in this job. And they all kind of said yes. And none of them knew what it was. None of them knew you were involved. None of them knew it was more the script. They just knew that there was a paycheck and I was directing, and that was it. And no one said no, you know, and we had a great time. Anyway, back to Cowboys.
It was a good fun though, yeah.
Yeah, it
like,
was good
hanging
fun.
with you guys in the hotel, like especially in the evening, it was great, man. Like
going anywhere, drinking with Jason Fleming and you as a combination is a pretty good duo.
Yeah, oh, it was great fun.
Yeah, it was good fun. I look forward to doing another one, and hopefully soon.
No, we'll stay in touch with all you guys about what we got coming up next. Next one here is from Cannon Folderall. Between Seven Samurai, Magnificent Seven, and Yojimbo / A Fistful of Dollars, there's a case to be made for Kurosawa as an influential Western director. Cheers. Well, it's interesting how easily these ideas pour over from, like, you know, feudal Japan with samurai versus like the Wild West with their gunslingers and their outlaws and their bounty hunters and all that stuff. Like the principles are the same. It's just the setting is different, and I think that's an interesting comparison to make.
Well, I mean, another director who's massively been influenced by Kurosawa, who's one of my favorite directors living today, is Walter Hill. And I mean, if you watch, he's done a great movie called Extreme Prejudice. I've got the vinyl soundtrack to it. It's in a box. Great score by Jerry Goldsmith. We must talk about Elmer Bernstein's score, by the way, for the Mag 7.
Oh, but, wow, yeah.
And then Extreme Prejudice is basically a modern remake of the film we talked about earlier, the one I said I saw in the cinema. It's got the big gunfight at the end. Everybody gets killed.
Oh, yeah, The Wild Bunch.
The Wild Bunch, right. Extreme Prejudice is basically a modern remake of The Wild Bunch. Great film. Nick Nolte, Powers Booth, you know, all to do with kind of Mexican drug cartels and stuff. There's an incredible gunfight at the end with these 30 caliber double twin machine guns, and it's mad, but it's Walter Hill at his best, because he, you know, basically he directs westerns, and he's very famous for saying every movie is a western. That's his thing. But I love Walter Hill, and good friend of mine just wrote a really good biography about him, actually, and that made me track down all his films that I hadn't seen, which wasn't many. I think I'd only not seen 2. And I'm a big fan of Streets of Fire. Have you seen Streets of Fire, Drinker? Did you ever?
I have seen Streets of Fire one time. Yeah, it was quite the experience.
I really like it. I love the soundtrack.
It's a wild movie.
I love the two big songs in it. And it's quite a weird movie in the sense that about 5 days into filming, they decided Walter Hill suddenly turned around. It was originally a really violent script, and he suddenly turned around and said, "In this Western, no one dies and no one's going to get shot. I've decided this is a different. This is like a sort of parallel world to ours, where violence doesn't quite work the same way. It's all implied." And so the whole script got rewritten. All these characters got shot and killed originally, and stuff. And I don't know. I kind of wish we'd seen that version of Streets of Fire. But I do. I've got a real soft spot for Streets of Fire. And yes, Tom, Diane Lane, mate. Diane Lane in Streets of Fire.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's yeah.
What have we got here? I tried watching Seven Samurai. It's not diverse enough. I couldn't envision myself in the story. I know I didn't see myself reflected in it.
Well, if you were Japanese, you'd probably think it was diverse enough.
You'd probably be fine then, I would imagine. Yes. I like this one. My favorite Bronson line is actually from Death Wish 2. You believe in Jesus? Well, you're gonna meet him. Yeah, a lot of fun to be had in the Death Wish movies. They made out 5 of them, didn't they? Like he was wishing for so much death on people.
I mean, guys in chat, don't hate me. I'm not a massive fan of the Death Wish films. I've got to be honest.
The first one was okay. Like I think they milked
it's all right.
It for that.
It's very of its time. It's quite gritty and quite dark, and I do like quite gritty, dark films. But there's a lot of films in that milieu. There's a lot of films in that pond, and I think there are some better ones out there.
Yeah.
I quite liked the Kevin Bacon remake as well. I don't know if you ever saw that. That was
not,
about 10,
sadly.
12 years ago. Quite liked that. That was quite good. But we should mention Elmer Bernstein's score. But do you want to jump in with more supers?
Yeah, what I'll do, I'll see if I can just get through the supers for Magnificent Seven before we go into the most epic spin-off of all.
Well, indeed.
Any thoughts on the 2016 remake? Nope.
We had a really brief conversation about whether we should discuss it. I've got one thing to say about it, which is James Horner's last score that he wrote before he died was for that film, and he did it as a gift, and sort of wrote the score as a surprise. And I was like, oh my god, because I'm a massive James Horner fan. I've got like
so am I. Like I think people
finals.
Overlook him in favor of like Hans Zimmer and like some of the biggies. James Horner, I love his stuff.
I really love Horner. Cocoon and Kral are 2 of my favorite soundtracks.
He did the scores for all the old Star Trek movies as well, didn't he?
He did Wrath of Khan. I don't think he did the motion picture, but he did Wrath of Khan.
Yeah, he did.
I think he did Wrath of Khan, and I think he did Search for Spock.
Yeah, he did. 100%. You can tell it's
I've got the vinyls of both of those at my feet, literally.
Well, he did Aliens as well, didn't he?
He did Aliens. I've also got the vinyl for that down here.
That is a superb score.
The vinyl for that, I don't know if you can see it, guys. The vinyl for Aliens is here. It's
right. Yeah, we can see it.
Yeah, in the cabinet there. I was so annoyed that they didn't include the drum beat sequence when the dropship goes in and it's all that. That's not on the vinyl, the original vinyl soundtrack. It's on the extended CD that they brought out some years later. But yeah, so he did the score. It was his final score. That score is like very underwhelming. I can't even remember it, and it must be the only James Horner score that you always have, like what they call a worm or a hook in a good score, where you've got that kind of like Battle Beyond the Stars,
yeah.
I mean, anyone that's seen Battle Beyond the Stars will always remember that theme tune.
Oh, just 1 second, hold on. This is Travis, the director for Trial by Fire.
Shall I fill in?
Yeah, Trav. Hello? Don't worry, man. There's only like you're on live. I'm doing a live stream, and so you're in front of like 1,000 people right now. How's it going, man?
I am driving back home. How's it going with you?
Yeah, pretty good. How about I call you after I finish this? That's probably the better way to do this.
Let me look in the chat, see what's going on.
Sounds good. Enjoy your live stream.
All right, thanks, buddy. Bye-bye. All right, sorry about that. Anyway, when my director calls me, like I generally would try and take it, but
the other
don't worry, I got rid of him. Yeah, my other director. I've got 2 now at this point. So yeah. So as for the 2016 version, it's what can I say about it? It's a nice generic action movie that
Western.
happens to be set in the Wild West. Yeah, it's got none of the charm. It's got none of the personality of the Magnificent Seven, the original one, and it's just really forgettable. That's the sad
They
reality. And
didn't.
it's got a good cast, you know.
It has got a good cast. They didn't have the love story, and then like you kind of had your main villager character, and I think I might be remembering this wrong because I've only seen it twice, once at the cinema and once about a year ago.
Yeah.
I seem to recall that they killed him off pretty quickly. Got a big actor to play that role. It was that great actor who was in
Hold on, let me
Larry
see if I can find
Kramer
it.
adaptation, A Normal Heart. He was in that. He was a fantastic actor. Matt Boomer, what a great actor. And he's Matt Boomer's in it, and he's sort of the guy that goes out to try and find people, I think, or he's certainly a key villager. And then they kill him in like the first 10 or 15 minutes, and I was like, oh, okay, right. So he's not the villager that kind of then goes and picks up a gun and joins alongside them. And I don't know, it was all a bit there was no love story there as well, which I always thought was a key ingredient. You've got the love story in Seven Samurai with the
young guy.
Yeah, the young guy, the samurai in training, and that's actually a really moving scene, that whole thing. And then you know, it's a very important story with Rosenda Monteros in The Magnificent Seven. We should give her a shout out, you know, because my God, what a beautiful woman. No, I mean, I've got to say,
well done, Rosenta Monteros. You are fucking.
Hang on, look, we got to put this picture up. I mean, she was.
No, just to check, like she wasn't like 16 or something in this.
No. When she shot this movie, she was actually 25. She had already. Now, talk about the cast experience. She had done more movies than the rest of the cast probably put together. She'd already done 15 feature films.
Damn,
and
she was
married to this Mexican film director called Julio Braco, and the story goes that on the last film that they worked on together, he had an affair with the lead actress, and she only got fourth billing. So on his picture, and her role wasn't as big, so they got divorced. But her and John Sturges had an affair, which is obviously part of the narrative of our play.
Okay.
But she's just stunning woman. We've got this great actress. Beautiful. Yeah, we've got this great actress called Rose Core playing her. Actually looks a little bit like her. And then she also doubles playing Feritas, who's the Mexican censor who demands all the cuts and the changes. And so she comes on with a big fake mustache on, you know, to play that role, which is quite funny. But Rosenda Monteros was just stunning. I mean, what an incredible beauty. You know, you can't take your eyes off her when she's on the screen. You just can't.
She just yeah. The only problem is she doesn't get a huge amount of screen time. But you know.
No, I mean, her story is all with Horst Buchholz, the German actor that was brought in to play a Mexican to play.
Was he dubbed? Was his voice dubbed over?
No, it's really him.
Oh, right.
Yeah, okay. It is really him. We have a running gag in the play that no one can pronounce his name right, and they call him Horse Buttholes and all this kind of stuff. But
yeah,
and McQueen hated him. McQueen thought that he was stealing the picture from him.
I mean, he does act up a storm in this one. Like the dude really swings for the fences.
Yeah, well, he's kind of playing the deranged samurai character. So
yes,
that's sort of why. But yeah, even with that, he does. It's a little bit over the top in a couple of scenes, but he is fun to watch though. And a very interesting man. He had a very interesting life. And you can read. There's a good documentary made about him by his son, which is quite heartbreaking to watch. It's sort of set in the last years of his life, but yeah, a lot of people might remember him from Raid on Entebbe, which is the best of the 3 Entebbe films. God, forget that recent one that was just called Entebbe. That was terrible. But the best one is also the one that stars Charles Bronson.
Oh, there you go.
Called Raid on Entebbe, and that came out in 1976, and you can see the whole film. It's on YouTube. But again, might not be popular with people these days because of current politics. But it is a good movie, just as purely as a watch, and that's probably the most accurate version of that story. Because there's a few other films.
No, I can't confirm this if it's true or not. Maybe you know, but Robert Vaughn was also in Zombie 5: Killing Birds.
He did do a zombie film. I can't remember which one, but I'll take Robert Hayes' word for it. But he did do a zombie movie because a friend of mine worked on it and did the visual effects, the CGI.
Was that literally just, I'll take the payday and run?
I mean, Vaughn was known for doing payday jobs in the last, until he got cast in that TV show, the name of which escapes me. Yeah, he was known for doing kind of paycheck.
Right.
Give me the paycheck, and a bit like what Bruce Willis did in the last 15 years of his career when he knew he had health issues. He would turn up he would turn up on set for a couple of days for like $500,000 and give you like 3 to 5 days for that. I remember when we were trying to get funding for Pegasus Bridge and somebody said, "You got a part in it for Bruce Willis, we'll get him for $500,000 and put his name on the top." And I was like, how are we going to put Bruce Willis in a Pegasus Bridge film? It's all British characters. He can't do a British accent. Who's he going to play? Oh, I don't know. Have him turn up as General Patton or something. I was like,
random American general.
General Patton's not going to go and talk to British paratroopers while they're in training. Or, I don't know. That was some crazy producer that thought that was the way to get the movie made, and I was like, no. So
Eric says fastest actor with gun was Glenn Ford by far. People say funny. Kurosawa credits John Ford as his inspiration. Funny how things come full circle.
Yeah, that's a true story. I've heard that. Steve McQueen was the fastest and the most well-trained person with a gun on the Magnificent Seven. And
Yul Brynner was pretty fucking fast as well.
But McQueen actually helped him with that.
Right.
Yeah, and also McQueen was the best of the horse riders as well. He really knew how to ride horses. You can see he does all of his own horse riding stunts, and there's that scene where he chases on after them and he's firing the rifle off the top of the horse, and that's not easy to do that. Bearing in mind this is an old school blank firing weapon that has a bit of recoil, and so Brynner does that great thing where he does the dramatic roll with the rifle. Do you remember that shot?
Yep. Yeah.
Very, very kind of William Shatner. I do like that.
Cannon says, Drinker Lance, loving this discussion, enjoying the anecdotes and behind the scenes history of these great films. Cheers. That's the great thing about these classic movies, man. Like there's such fascinating stories just about how they got made in the first place.
Oh, we've got Simon Berry, who plays Steve McQueen in the play. He's in the chat.
Welcome, sir.
He's just said, "Yeah, I am trying to mention everyone, Simon, but I'm not trying to over labor it." But he's just given a shout out to the rest of the cast as they're excellent. And Lance has no weak links in this chain. He says, "Thank you, mate. Much appreciated. Glad you're watching. Don't stay up too late. We've got rehearsals all day tomorrow."
Yes. Well, with that in mind, shall we move on to the truly the most epic of
my favorite of all the Magnificent Seven films?
Yeah, Battle Beyond the Stars. What a classic sci-fi movie that is. Roger Corman at his best. And as far as I know, it still holds the record as the most expensive Roger Corman produced movie ever. He put quite a bit of budget into this one.
So yeah, I mean, I know a lot about this film because I studied it as a filmmaker, because it's a really good movie to watch in terms of economy and how to shoot something, because I shot it quite quickly. Yes. Of course, this film came about as a result of the success of Star Wars. Everyone was trying to make a Star Wars. So Star Wars dropped in 1977.
Yes.
By the end of 1978, it become the global phenomenon. So at the end of 1978, everybody was rushing in. The Italian Star Wars is the humanoid. If you haven't seen it and you fancy a laugh, the whole film was on YouTube until fairly recently, I think. That's the Italian Star Wars with some really classic lines like intergalactic stellar ray and all kinds of things. But Battle Beyond the Stars, I thought, was the good Star Wars homage. You had Battlestar Galactica as well. There's the boob ship.
There it is, spaceship with tits.
Yeah,
I love how it's because it's got like its own sassy personality, hasn't it? It's got like an AI that controls it called Nell.
Yeah, I just think all the different elements of this work really well. They had a really good production design team on this, and one of the people that worked on that production design team was none other than James Cameron.
Yes, he did a lot of the spaceship interiors.
He did.
And the set design and stuff, and apparently worked his arse off. Like his usual like perfectionism was evident even at this really early stage of his career, and he was, I think he gradually like was promoted over the course of this movie because he was like one of the few people who really gave a shit in terms of like doing the best he could. So
yeah, he did. He did this film, and he did another film for Roger, I think in 1983, called Galaxy of Terror, which is kind of like that movie that you really like, the one with Jason Isaacs, directed by Paul Anderson, not Paul Thomas Anderson, the other, the Mortal Kombat
W.S.
guy.
Anderson, yeah,
W.S. Anderson, the space one, Event Horizon.
Oh, Event Horizon, yeah.
Because the Galaxy of Terror is basically Event Horizon on a much lower budget, and
Right.
Jim Cameron was the main sort of set designer on that. And if you look at the sets on that and the way that they've done forced perspective backdrops and stuff on Galaxy of Terror, there's some really good shots in there. It's not a great film. I mean, I don't really want to see Erin Moran from Happy Days get kind of graped by a tentacle alien at the best of times, but it's a film with a lot of merit, and that all that merit's in the production design. But the production design and the miniature work in this is amazing.
No, the ships and everything look great, and this is actually true as well. James Cameron used burger holders to make the interior, so like styrofoam burger things. Like he stuck. Them to the
he
walls and
basically
stuff.
raided the skips behind McDonald's. You know, like the old the plastic trays when they he got loads of those, and there's loads of those on the walls.
It all just gives texture and stuff. Like, and that's the great thing about movies, especially back then when like things weren't filmed in like 4K. You could get away with a lot of just like giving the impression of like texture and shapes and stuff in the background that they probably were out of focus slightly, so you wouldn't be able to know exactly what they were, but it all just contributed to this feeling of being in a lived-in environment. So yeah, like I love how you could cheat stuff like that. It's a neat idea. It's a neat trick. And interestingly, this movie does something slightly different with the formula from Seven Samurai, because that was very much like the villagers who are looking for samurai to protect them are just like basically the inciting incident, right? This one takes the idea of like, well, let's take one of those villagers who's sent out to recruit the samurai and make him the hero. He's the focal point of the story.
Yeah.
And that's how you end up with Shad, who's the main character of this. And so like it flips it slightly.
Thomas.
Yes.
From the Waltons.
Yes, exactly. Very much like a bit of a pussy-ish looking character, but that's exactly what they need for something like this, because he's not a warrior.
I actually really like him as an actor. I think he's massively underrated. I saw him on stage in London. He did a play called Art, which was a three-hander, which, by the way, Danny Webb was in, who I know from Alien 3. And he was great in it. He was absolutely fantastic in it. And I've seen him in a couple of TV movies. And the reason he did Battle Beyond the Stars was he turned around to his agent and he said, "Get me anything you can that's as far removed from John Boy as possible.
Right.
I don't want people to keep thinking of me as the guy on the Waltons. I want to play villains," because there's a couple. He's played a couple of really good villains, actually.
I've seen him play a villain in like a TV movie where like he takes a bunch of people hostage in an office building or something. Well, he's quite good.
I think I saw that, but he's great. The casting in this movie is absolutely spot on.
Oh yeah, I mean, well, they got Robert Vaughn back to like reprise his role. Yes, they got George Peppard, and apparently a lot of their budget actually went on him. John Saxon, superb as Sador. The villain of this movie is great.
Let me get a picture of Saxon up. I absolutely love John Saxon. Just as an actor, generally, a lot of people will remember him from the Bruce Lee film.
Yes.
But
he was Enter the Dragon he was in, wasn't it?
That's right. I mean, his opening line, "I am Sador of the Maomori, and I have come with my forces to conquer you." That's the
Yeah.
whole plot right there, and
Yep.
he totally sells it. And then you've got that great. The opening 10 minutes of this is absolutely amazing because you've got that fantastic shot of the ship coming over the top of the colony, and it looks, even now, that shot still looks really good, like forced perspective miniature thing. And then, you know, when he says snipers forward, and the snipers take up the gun positions and start just shooting random civilians, and the score comes on from James Horner. Dun, 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 dun. It's just great. All the elements, casting, you know, the casting, the music, the look, everything about it just works with this film. Yeah, the sets are a bit cheap here and there, and you can kind of see curtains and things if you look, but I just love this film. It's so rewatchable.
I think as well, his flagship, that I think it's referred to as the Hammerhead. The ship design for that is superb as well. It's like this big, imposing starship that's just covered in guns and stuff. It's got the super weapon attached to it that will turn your planet into a mini sun.
The stellar converter.
The stellar converter, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like it takes a bit of Star Wars, a bit of Magnificent Seven, and just mashes it all together into this lovely slice of 1980s cheese. It's great. I will say as well.
Go on.
I got to give props as well, because Sybil Danning's in this movie, and by God, she makes an impression.
She does. 2 impressions.
Yes, 2 impressions. She understood the assignment for this one 100%, and she just went for it. And I got to respect that.
Well, I love the fact that she comes from this race of warriors who, you know, live fast and have a beautiful ending, I think is the
Valkyrie.
mantra. But they're also experts on everything to do with sex. And the scene here where she's with actress Darlene Fugel, who sadly is no longer with us. She passed away relatively young, a couple of years ago, I think, just coming out of the pandemic. I think we lost her. And she's sort of saying this. I remember this conversation. It's like, I'm going to teach you how to operate that boy's thrusters and all this kind of thing. The dialogue's a bit cheesy, but it just
very
kind of
cheesy,
works.
Oh, like I say, she understood the assignment, and she just threw herself right into it, and had a lot of fun with it. And I think there's a lot of charm to be had from stuff like that. I do feel a bit bad for the actress that's next to her. What did you say her name was? Sorry.
Darlene Flugel, her name
Darlene
is.
Flugel, yeah. It's like when you're up against that, it's like it's tough to share a scene.
She
where
played
the
she played
Shad's
love interest, and I liked Darlene. She was a good little actress. She did some really good roles in her career. She went on and did she worked on documentaries in the latter part of her career, and did some documentaries in Japan. But she had a little part in Once Upon a Time in America. She was in To Live and Die in LA. She was one of the main characters in Running Scared, which is one of my favorite cop buddy movies. I know that's a favorite of quite a few people. So yeah, and that Lock Up with Sylvester Stallone, which actually is an underrated Sylvester Stallone movie. I quite like that.
It's not bad. I don't mind Lock Up. No.
Yeah.
Because Donald Sutherland's in that with him as well. He's the jail warden.
Yeah, exactly.
There's the bridge set from.
Yeah, I mean, this, depending on who you believe,
big
the budget
set.
for this was either 3 or 11 million, depending on who you believe.
That's quite a gap.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, there's so many great things. You do feel like you've been to like 5 or 6 planets in this, and in half the time that Rebel Moon took.
Yeah, because it's not all in slow-mo.
There's loads of stuff from this that's in Rebel Moon. I mean, literally. I mean, and that's not a bad thing, that a filmmaker who was probably a kid when they saw this remembered some elements of it, and they thought, I'm going to give some nods to Battle Beyond the Stars. You know, fair play.
Yeah.
But
I will say with this movie as well, like in terms of like the ship combat scenes and stuff, like with the miniatures and everything,
quite well done.
I didn't look at it and think, oh my God, it looks so cheap. Like for a movie that was made in 1980 on a relatively modest budget, like it looks pretty damn good for the most part. And the combat scenes are enough to like keep the interest going.
Yeah,
I mean,
The other thing about the miniature unit in this is, I don't know if you've noticed, but these shots have appeared in about 20 other films.
Yeah, Roger Corman licensed it out, didn't he?
Right, yeah, he
Especially
did.
the Hammerhead.
He used it in a couple of his other movies, like Space Raiders being the most obvious one that I can recall immediately. There was a quite a big show that was on British TV in the early 80s that was broadcast live, and it was like a murder mystery that took place on a spaceship, and it was really weird show. You cut from acting scenes with actors doing this plot to then a studio audience which had a guest panel, and the guest panel were trying to work out which character might turn out to be the murderer, and then you cut back to these live acting scenes on the bridge of this ship, and somebody was killing off members of the crew, and all the shots of the ship were the Hammerhead from Battle Beyond the Stars. I can't remember the name of that program, but I bet someone in chat remembers. It was a really big show. It was like one of those things that was really heavily advertised and was quite unique because no one had ever done a TV show like that before. But it was quite disappointing to then see this sort of thing that had all this PR. We cut to the effect shots. It's like, oh look, Roger Corman's spaceships are in it. But I guess that saved them some money.
Yeah. Yeah, this one's different, I guess, in some ways from the other two, in that like they all die essentially. Like all of the mercenaries that he recruits end up getting killed.
All
apart
but two. Yeah. Him
the only
and
one that's left is Shad.
Darlene. Well, Darlene Fugel's character survives. She's in the ship
those
with him.
two basically, because they're on the same ship.
Yeah, I mean, there's an ambiguity over. There's one bit that you don't know, which is were the two. I forget the name. They're called Kelplings or Kelp.
Oh, them thermal things.
Yeah, they destroy the tank, don't they, by standing in front of it, and then they're cold, and they say get them to the rehydration unit or something, and you don't know if they're back on the Lazuli's ship when or Cayman of the Lander Zone. He says Lazuli when he does his war cry. You don't know if they're on the ship. You don't know if they've been revived. They might be on the planet still in stasis. So, bring on Battle Beyond the Stars too, and let's have them come back.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
I'd be all up for it. Quite frankly, I'd love to see another version of this. You could get he's still around. You could get John Boy to come back in it, and he could be in it.
He could be Sador this time around, or like who's the old guy? Like, because there's always the old man character.
The old guy was played by that was Jeff Corey. His character gets killed because then, don't you remember? Shad says it's quite a sad moment in the film. Shad says,
"Oh yeah, because he dies in combat."
Like, he basically Shad feels his passing, and oh no, not Shad. The ship. What's the name of the ship? The computer on the ship.
Now,
and she says the life of Zador has ended, or whatever his character's name was. I always get a little chill when that because you know what it is. It's the James Horner music in that scene.
Yes,
it's very. Like, so good at pulling your heartstrings.
I think when I did my review of this, like way back in the day, I was like, every aspect of this movie is way better than it has any right to be. Like for a low budget Roger Corman movie, you've got a bunch of like pretty good actors, like George Peppard, Robert Vaughn, the main guy. I can't remember what you said his name was, Richard something. Sybil Danning for Eye Candy. You've got the James Horner score when James Horner was like relatively like new in
this was one soundtracks. I think this was his first or second job. It was like Roger Corman gave him a chance. Corman was all about doing that.
You've got James Cameron doing the interior design, like the set design and stuff. And I think he did some of the model work on the ships as well, like some of the designs for them. And like all of these people who would go on to become super successful in the industry just kind of happened to coalesce around this random fucking movie. It just made it way better than it should have been. And I love it. I love it for this. It is a supremely rewatchable film. It's obviously doesn't measure up to the other two, but like in terms of just fun factor, I heartily recommend Battle Beyond the Stars. It is a good, enjoyable movie.
I mean, it's quite short. It's like a tight 90 minutes. It might even be 85. But it's great. I mean, I like another thing I want to mention is Nesta. You know the five guys who all look the same.
Yeah, the
And
collective intelligence sort of thing.
yeah, and one of the actors, I think the lead actor who played them, I think he passed away last year, but he was a great, very well known character actor. And they have that thing: what one sees, all see; what one feels, all feel.
Mm-hmm.
And then at one point, Cowboy gives them a hot dog, and they're
Yeah,
like, and one of them starts eating it, and the rest of them all start chewing. And he's like, then he sort of looks at it and goes, "There's no dog in this."
yeah.
I
Well,
mean, it's a brilliant
they
scene.
use
It's so
them.
funny.
They use one of them to try and kill Sador, don't they? Because like he gets
Yeah.
one of their arms grafted onto him, and then they take control of it and like try to use that to like stab him to death or whatever. And
Yeah,
that's
because that's part of the backstory of Sador. He's lived so long because his body is made up of sort of parts of people that have been kind of lopped off and reattached by his doctor, who's got the imaginative name of Doc
yeah.
in the film. But it all works, you know.
You know the one that always stuck out for me as well is like I don't know what you would call him, like probably the first officer of the ship, like Sador's immediate subordinate.
Oh, he's like Tabo or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
The guy
Yeah,
with the guy with the scar through his face and the eye patch.
yeah. The actor does such a fucking good job with such a thankless part. Like I always felt like he was really giving it 100% throughout that movie. Like he
Yeah.
takes loads of like emotion into his lines.
Well, I
Which
think that's all about understanding like the tone. If you know, people need to know when to ham it up. And I mean, this is one of those films where if it's going to work, you have to just throw yourself into it. Otherwise, it's not going to work. And
yeah.
this is one of those films where there's a story that when John Boy from the Waltons, Richard Thomas, the first day he was on set, he was kind of a bit like, not too sure about this. And he kind of sat in this really, little set of his ship and he did a scene with Nell. And Corman went off and went and did something. And the director of this wasn't Roger Corman. It was a guy called Jimmy T. Murakami, who was very young. And Richard Thomas leaned over to the PA and went, I don't know about doing this job. I don't think these guys know what they're doing. And the PA leaned to him and says, trust me, Roger Corman knows exactly what he's doing. And this film's going to make a lot of money. And that was it. And then he was like, okay, all right, I'm in. And it's just, that all turned out to be true. It did very well.
Yeah. I like this as well. Leave Sybil on every stream critical. I like, is she still alive?
I believe she is.
Hold on, let me see if I can find her.
Oh, she is.
Sybil.
She's still alive. And note that she has removed the date of her birth from IMDb. That's interesting.
Oh, we'll never know. Well, I've got Wikipedia here, and it says she's 73. I think I need to try and get her on sometime so I can talk.
Mate, do it.
Sybil,
you know what?
Are you out there?
not only should get her on, we could try and crowdfund to do a sequel of Battle Beyond the Stars.
Oh, there you go.
We could get Richard Thomas and Sybil Danning back.
I don't think she'd be up for wearing this outfit in present day, but who knows?
Mate, CGI.
Yeah.
Put it to good use for once.
It's about time. Yeah, people suggested Sydney Sweeney could play this role, and I heartily support that suggestion. So let's do a remake of Battle Beyond the Stars, and we'll get Sydney Sweeney to play.
Sydney Sweeney might be up for that. You never know.
I feel like she might. Yeah, I feel like she might.
You could do a good story would be that Richard Thomas's character has to go and find that race of warriors that St. X-Men came from for whatever MacGuffin reason. So he has to now go and find them,
Yeah.
and bring them back to fight for his world because reasons.
Yeah.
I'll come up with lots of plausible plot points.
Either way, the big takeaway from this stream is that Sybil Danning was really fucking hot back in the day, and you should give Battle Beyond the Stars a try if you haven't seen it, because it's really good.
You should. It's classic film. It's great film.
Let me just finish up by doing the super chats that were outstanding here. Let's see. Yeah, Northern English bastard says, unexpected stream today, but always good to see my friend stream with the drinker. See you in London soon, Lance.
Yeah, Northern's coming to the YouTubers meetup, which is at the old Rose and Crown pub on the 19th of October, kind of from sort of 1-ish. And that is also the last performance of the Seven Magnificent Egos play, which is on at 2:00 that day. We've got about 50% of the tickets left. But yeah, Northern's one of the YouTubers that's going to be there.
Nice.
Along with a few others.
Next up is Robert Hayes. They've said of Corman, he can negotiate a movies in a phone booth, write the script on the sidewall, and finance it with coins in the change slot. That sounds about right. And Mass Jackal says, hey, drinker, how many bottles of bourbon will it take to make extra shots for No Country for Old Men? I can arrange next day delivery. Believe that. You don't have to bribe me with that one. I would happily review that movie. I just haven't got around to it. No one's really asked me to.
I love that. I love that guy's avatar. I don't know if that's what the real guy. I like cool cowboy avatar, man. I love that.
It's pretty nice. Pretty nice. Yeah, I'll probably finish up there. I feel like we've been on quite the journey this evening, going through the world of Seven Samurai spin-offs. But
right, I need to shout out an actor from
Show me
Battle Beyond the Stars. I'm trying to find the picture of the lady. Where is she? So everybody always had a crush, right, on Sybil Danning in this film, but you know, Cowboy. I think this is her. Yeah, I mean, it's not a great photo, but Cowboy
random villager lady.
Yeah,
you mean.
he had a subplot with this girl, and they kind of fall in love, and he's sort of debating whether to run away or not, and ultimately he has to be a hero. She's played by Marta Kristen, who used to, I think, be in Lost in Space, and she is still around. And actually, quite some time ago, I asked her to come on my channel for an interview, and she said yes straight away. But then things happened, and we just didn't get around to organising it. But she was the person I had a crush on in this, and she used to be in Lost in Space. But I mean, I wasn't even born when Lost in Space came out. But I always remember like her in Battle Beyond the Stars, and I was really young. I saw Battle Beyond the Stars at the cinema, by the way, and I was really young when I saw it. But I remember thinking, this lady, I have strange feelings for her. I don't understand what's happening.
She has got a strong 1980s look going on in that image you showed me there.
She's got a really nice looking Back Beyond the Stars. And obviously then when Sybil Danning appeared, I got very confused. It was a very confusing film for a young child watching science fiction. But yeah.
I'm feeling things.
On that bombshell. But thank you so much, man, for having me on. And these are 3 films I really like. It's quite an honor to be able to tell the story of the second one and all the shenanigans that went on behind the scenes. And thank you, Tom. Yeah, Murder in Space, Who Done It? That was the one. Thank you. That was. I wonder if I bet that's on YouTube somewhere.
It will be. You can literally watch all of Battle Beyond the Stars on YouTube.
You can. I mean, there's like 3 different places that people have got various different. There's a really good Blu-ray, in fact, of it on YouTube. But yeah, it's been great. The whole research process of finding out everything that went on behind the scenes with Magnificent Seven has been really, really interesting for me, and was a process that lasted many years. And it, you know, always challenging when most of the key players, if not all of them, have passed away.
Yeah.
But yeah, I managed to find out quite a lot because there was a lot of people that had a lot to say about that film when they were alive. So I was able to pull all those stories together. And yeah, the play is a lot of fun. So if you are in the UK, do come down and see it. I am going to be there every night because I'm also in it. And Critical Drinker is one of the producers on the show.
Yay.
So yeah.
Look at that, me a patron of the arts these days.
Not just a film producer, but he's a theatre producer too now.
That's my pleasure, man. It's been awesome to talk to you tonight and cover these movies that I've been meaning to talk about for a very long time. So thank you for making it happen.
Oh, well, no worries. I look forward to doing another one of these. I love doing the happy hours. So, because you know me, I'm very passionate about films. And thank you to the chat. The chat looks like it's been pretty active. I tried to leave a couple of little comments. It's quite difficult, obviously, to but men can multitask. I did manage to do
we can do it. It's just hard for us.
Yeah, did manage to do a couple, and yeah, do appreciate the comment. Oh, somebody's asking for the link for tickets. Yeah, okay, I've got that.
It's in the description of this video, so you'll find it there.
There you go. And I've also just put it in the chat. So there you go. You can't fail to get it now.
Nice.
All right.
Well, that, I would say, finishes us up for the night. So that is all we've got for today, ladies and gentlemen.
Right
Go away
on.
now.